Anymore. It's now in our backyard. Socialist governments have left a path of destruction across Europe, Latin America, and Asia. So let's take a trip down memory lane. No greater history lesson of the failures of socialism than the Soviet Union. Vladimir Lenin plunging into socialism, which pretty much paved the way for the rise of Joseph Stalin, where we saw a famine. 5 million died in the early 30s because of Joseph Stalin, and at least 750,000 executed in Stalin's Great Terror. Why? Because those that wanted to rise up against socialism had to be persecuted with the grip of power that they had. That failure, one of history's greatest lessons. But remember East Germany, Ronald Reagan tear this wall down in 1990? Well, that begins under the East German government that also had to use coercion. And they did so by the Stasi getting over 189,000 informants spying on East Germans. At least 140 died at that wall before it came down in 1990. Bulgaria doesn't get much mention, but another great case of simple textbook socialism and communism failures. 20 to 40,000 people murdered without any trial. Check this out. Remember, the collectivization of land is at the heart of socialism. In 1947, under 4% was collectivized. 10 years later, it's 90%. Hungary, everyone knows that story, a great textbook lesson of it. 1956 anti-communist revolt. Crushed by who? Soviets. They're following the Soviet playbook. Hundreds of thousands are fleeing to the West. We're still dealing with some of that now. China, by the way, one of the only still socialist and communist models, but the famine in their history killing 20 million. In Venezuela, we're well aware of that. An interesting point about what we have tried to do there. Even still, you have over 50% living in extreme poverty, and the IMF estimates that the inflation rate staggering 682,000. Quickly, let me just show you one more wall, and that is the candidates that we know on this coming Tuesday out in Colorado. You have Vlad Quiros, a Democratic socialist, endorsed by Bernie Sanders, running against Rep. Diana DeGette, who's been there for roughly 30 years. She, by the way, lost her job as a lawyer in New York for writing anti-Israel writings. She is leading the Democratic Socialist charge out in Colorado. We have out in Missouri, remember Cori Bush? She was far left. She is socialist. And by the way, she's decided she's going to go farther left. Now, you've got in August a primary happening out in Michigan, and that is State Rep McKinney. Rep. Sri Tanadar, by the way, is a very progressive leftist. He's just not left enough. So the DSA brought in McKinney. And finally, out in Wisconsin, State Rep Hong getting in a gubernatorial race, gaining some ground, by the way, with her socialist push. We'll see where that goes. But it is all eyes right now on Colorado to see if Vlad Quiros can actually unseat Diana
I hope we
DeGette.
put back that wall of socialism that you have, because there is.
They're coming.
What is going on all over this country is progressives are on the march. And I was just before I left the office, I saw Fox Television in their headlines, "The end of the world is coming. Progressives are winning elections. Socialism is taking over the world." Real panic.
Bernie watches Fox. What's up, Bernie? Come on the show. Finally, Sanders has an army, but Mamdani's commies are a whole new breed, and the establishment can't see it coming.
We talk a lot about the party being a big tent party, and we should be.
We are a big tent party. That's who we are.
One of the things that makes the Democratic Party great is it's a big tent party. We need to stay that way.
These people are fools. The tent's not big enough for both of them. When the commies come in, they're not going to share it. They're there to take you out. The communists are like parasites. They're going to use the Democratic Party to get ballot access, get elected, caucus with them when it works, and then suck them dry until they die. The party did it to themselves. They screwed up so badly and didn't deliver a damn thing when they had power that they had to play footsie with the commies to shore up their base. And now they're completely out of power. They're weak, brands in the toilet, and they opened the door just a crack, and danger walked right in. These people are cold-blooded revolutionaries who want to bury America. Bury it. Some Democrats get it.
Lady, I ain't in the same party as you. I'm sorry. I just not. Everybody's always said, no, we're coalition, we're big tent. And there's just some that I can't be in the same tent with. These people do not like Democrats. Not only are they not Democrats, they wish Democrats poorly. But I'm done. I'm not in a political party.
The Cajun Paul Revere. But the commie wave is creating a lot of cowards. Anonymous D.C. executives are calling it an earthquake, but they won't go public. Phones are ringing off the hook with people asking, quote, are we going to let them take over the party? Or are we going to stand up and fight back? That right there is the question. And can the Democrats fight commies and Trump? They've been fighting Trump so hard they got a blind spot. Ask any general. When you're fighting someone on the left and on the right, that means you're surrounded. That means you better have a big old gun and a big old bunker. Guerrilla warfare on the left, conventional warfare on the right. The Democratic Party, as it stands today, can't win that battle. They can't beat Trump, and they're afraid of their own base. And Democrats, they don't know who to trust. Like AOC. Whose side is she on? Well, I think we know.
I feel like it's deja vu all over again. That there was so much fear around that when I was elected, and none of it bore out to be true.
None of it bore out to be true? The squad defunded the police and gave us riots, crime, and DEI. And AOC's little friend Omar, her Somali buddies, cost us $18 billion. And this new crew is to the left of them. These people want taxpayer-funded sex change surgeries. No borders, no prisons, no police.
This right here is a solar and battery hybrid solution. This provides power through the daytime and the nighttime. So,
you know how you start a revolution? Same playbook. You raid the treasury, empty the prisons, and take out the cops. These people said we deserve 9/11, and they got elected in New York. Matt Taibbi writes this, quote, "The Zoran revolution is a whole hog, F-it, real thing version of Marxian socialism, instantly recognizable to anyone who's ever lived in a socialist country. This movement's young, it's ethnic, media savvy, with a real desire to overthrow the American system, whole thing. Chevalier, one of the Mamdani extremists, called Manhattan occupied Lenape land and says we need to become bad bitches and seize the means of production. Yeah. This is the woman who says she wants to eradicate Western civilization. She's never had a job. She's been a grad student for 7 years. Pocahontas was asked about her, and she played dumb.
A world without borders and a world without prisons or police is possible if necessary, the only moral way forward. She said abolish the border, all deportation is wrong. I mean, are those sentiments that you think Democratic candidates should hold?
Look, I don't know her. I'm not familiar with what she's written.
They pulled the same thing with Plattner. Oh, I'm not familiar with these allegations that he's abusing women. He's abusing women? I don't know him. Well, does the communist admit she's a communist on live cable TV?
All sorts of Republicans ads to say, this is what you're going to get if you vote for the Democrats, a communist.
For far too long, this reactive conversation of what we should be afraid of has prevented us from being able to have a politics of hope and a politics of life that Democrats can actually identify with.
That wasn't an answer. She's a communist, and she's slick. And we told you last night, these commies have friends in high places.
They're not afraid of the term democratic socialism. I'm not scared of the term. I think they're scared of the term in this country. But Social Security is a democratic socialism. Partly unemployment insurance is. The people who pick up your garbage, the people who take the fire out at your house, all of these things are democratic socialism.
Having a fire department isn't communism. See, what she's doing is she's trying to soft pedal it. But eventually, they'll come for Joy. You let them have their way, they're going to take all Joy's money. But the person with the most to lose? Schumer. Politico says Schumer's office facing a 5-alarm fire. He's feeling that Latin heat.
I would say to Chuck Schumer, dude, you're in danger. Because this, I think, puts a lot of wind in the sails of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Cortez, the conquistador, is sailing straight at Schumer's seat.
Are you more inclined to possibly run for Senate after seeing the results of the 3 races in New York?
I think, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be breaking any news here. I'm definitely inspired and encouraged by all the new faces that we're going to be sending to the State Assembly and to Congress.
Hip's days are numbered. Mamdani is going to tap a commie to give Hakeem a red card.
Are you concerned at all about a primary challenge in 2 years from, a Mamdani endorsed candidate?
When you ask me a serious question, I'll give you a serious answer.
Hakeem's running around D.C. and everyone's telling him he's next. CNBC, they said grow a pair before it's too late.
They were saying you're next about Hakeem Jeffries. You're next. You're next. You're next. You can't think this is a positive development in New York politics, can you? And they'll just, Dems will be Dems or something like that. I don't see how you can say that. You need You need to reject those things, I think.
First of all, I've clearly rejected those things. That's number one.
Hakeem and Schumer just watched a band of Marxists run up in their backyard and plant a flag. Pelosi never would have let it get this far. She's from San Francisco. She knows how to keep the kooks in line. These two dudes are getting walked all over. The View just declared a winner.
I think that New York is the nation's cultural and political capital, and that's just a fact. And I think the Democratic Socialists of America is a force to be reckoned with at this point.
Civil war is going to be ugly. Democrats, TV hosts, Hollywood, they're all going to have to take sides. What's Obama going to say? Nothing. What about Kamala, Clinton, Biden? One of these commies called Joe Biden a rapist and a war criminal. She called Obama evil. These people are here to purge the heavyweights out of the party, straight up. And the more the Democrat establishment fights back against the commie wave, the wave will just get bigger. Being attacked by the establishment legitimizes the commies with the base. The brawl is going to last years. Morning Joe, the must-see Beltway show that keeps the Democratic coalition together.
Our pans are not cheap, so get this deal while it lasts.
You have a real wave happening. Joe, I think the Democratic Party, and you've got now two Democratic Socialists, is taking on an overall persona. This is where the energy is in the party. You and I can agree to disagree on this. I believe the Democratic Party overall is going too hard left. I believe there is anti-Semitism in there. We'll save that for another day. But I believe this is a branding issue for the Democrats that they are going to have to answer for.
Branding? Well, if you let communists into your party, then you're okay with communism. What kind of American political party hears someone say, oh, well, we're here to destroy Western civilization, and says, come on in, Big Tent. That's like, you're the babysitter? Your name's Charles Manson? Come on in. Big Tent. Are they a threat? Absolutely. Are they also so stupid it's kind of funny? Yes. One of these little elves actually wants to have government-run airlines.
My hot take is we need to abolish pre-check. I've got like a million beefs with the airline industry and the process of having to fly. We need to nationalize the airline industry. But let's start by abolishing pre-check.
So no pre-check, no clear. Everybody waits in one big old line, and Mayor Pete's your pilot. New York's actually been dipping its toes into communism for a while. Nearly half the city's on Medicaid. 20% of the city on food stamps. 1 out of every 3 renters lives in a rent-stabilized apartment, like the rent hasn't gone up in 30 years. 5% of New York City lives in the projects. New York City has a bigger budget than the whole state of Florida, and we're still in debt. No wonder. Everything's free, and the rest is stolen. Now, it's not just foreigners voting commie. These liberal women, they get the college degrees in, sociology. They move into Manhattan, and they can't get a job. Shocking. So they can't afford rent. So a bunch of single women with no jobs and degrees have to shack up in the same apartment in the Bronx. And they've been taught in school America's evil, so they get angry. And they vote communist to get revenge. They call these women downwardly mobile. And they're going to take the whole city down with them. But we're not going to let them do it. Last night, Trump spoke at the Great American State Fair and reminded us that life can be hard, but we persevere and always, always win.
Americans crossed the Great Plains, scaled the mighty Rockies,
tamed the Wild West and turned this continent into industrial powerhouses like nobody has ever seen. We laid down the railroads, raised up the skyscrapers, built the great highways, invented the airplane, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism. We're going to have to do that again.
Most of the country isn't on the commie train. Most of us think they're all crazy.
If you look at Democrats nationwide, look at this. Democratic Socialists are on the positive side of the ledger at plus 17 points. This includes Democratic-leaning independents. But look at all voters. A completely different world. 27 points underwater.
You know who else thinks the communists are crazy? The Supreme Court. In a major win for the America First movement, 6-3 vote, SCOTUS just said the government is allowed to turn away asylum seekers at the border, meaning Latin America can't just caravan up to Texas, claim asylum, and we have to let them in. And in another ruling, 6-3-2, the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Trump administration that Syrians and Haitians are no longer protected. The president can revoke their protected status and get them the heck out of the country pronto. Here's Miller.
It has never been the case, to go back to the Haiti example, that you can just take 3 million people from a failed island, put them into America, and overnight that they are able to become fully successful, fully assimilated American citizens. That defies everything we know about how culture works, how assimilation works, how nations work.
Justice Clarence Thomas says this, quote, aliens have no equal protection rights against the federal government. The Mamdani commies may have won a small battle in Manhattan, but these 2 court rulings hit like atomic bombs. It seals the border and lets Trump deport millions of illegals. The Republican Party has to go on offense against these communists, but defense wins championships. On Schumer and Hakeem until it's open warfare or someone surrenders. Until then, the communists are just going to infiltrate the party like a parasite inside a host's body. But it's Chuck who's really feeling the heat. One of Mamdani's little leprechauns who won in New York. Turns out she was arrested outside of Chuck's office just last year. Then she said, quote, any politician who's not doing something about Palestine is failing New Yorkers. The communists are harshly critical of Israel. Democrats win 2/3 of the Jewish vote. So this is going to be a big problem. Wait until the communists go on CNN or CBS and start trashing Israel. This is going to get wild. These people are like Antifa in a pantsuit. The Democrats didn't call out Antifa. They have to because they didn't take their seats. But now the power's on the line, real money, real influence. The Democrats are going to have to fight back. They have to. The communists are more of a threat to the Democratic Party than Donald Trump ever was. Because Donald Trump, he's not messing with your primaries. Communists are in the streets. They're knocking on doors. They're making calls. It's a movement and a machine. The Obama boys, they know a little thing or two about community organizing.
Clear that the groups on the left, Justice Democrats, Democratic Socialists of America, Our Revolution, are out-organizing, out-fundraising, out-working, out-maneuvering the traditional party institutions. They have captured the energy. They're being more creative. They're being more strategic. They're being more aggressive. And if you are someone in the Democratic establishment, you should be deeply concerned about what this says.
The Democratic Party has a 2-front war in its hands. They have to beat MAGA in the midterms and take the White House in 28. And they have to fight off a guerrilla army on their far left. We're about to see what the Democratic Party is made of and whether it can even survive.
If they fought them the way they fight Republicans or the way they fight me, they'd be victorious. They didn't beat us, but they'd be victorious against the communists. But they don't have the courage to do so, so they're turning communists themselves. It's becoming a communist party. These are not social democrats. These are hardcore, godless communists. They're godless communists. All communists are godless. They don't believe in God. This is the most serious threat to our country since its existence.
Trump just put it down. This is the most serious threat in 250 years. I thought we beat communism. We won the Cold War. Now we have to win it again in the Bronx? This is round 2. Communism never dies because college professors keep it alive. Some Democrats think they can co-opt the communists and take on Trump with bigger energy.
I mean, look, we've got to have a Big Ten if we want a majority. And the reality is that while the media and a lot of talking heads like to try to point out all the differences here, there are a lot of things that we're united on. You know, like let's make sure that we stop ICE from terrorizing our cities. I've said ICE not only needs to be abolished, they need to be prosecuted. I think there's a lot of Democrats who would agree on that. There's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on?
There's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats who would agree on that. There's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agree on? Like what? 'Cause I think there's a lot of Democrats and communists agr Like what? This woman, Chevalier, says she wants to seize the means of production. That's illegal. That's not America. She says she wants to nationalize pharmaceutical companies and abolish police. Is that something they have in common? Or how about this? Chevalier wants to seize all properties from landlords. The funny thing is, Chevalier's father's a landlord, so she has daddy issues. And how's she going to even do that? Are a bunch of thugs in Manhattan going to torture the landlords until they sign over the deeds? Government seizing private property is going to lead to blood in the streets. Always has. We fought a revolution against a tyrannical government. Do communists even celebrate July 4th? Someone should ask them that question. Mamdani, he's already got cracking. He's freezing rents.
Time for a new TV or soundbar?
Or maybe headphones.
For movie nights done right or your next binge.
The Good Guys has everything you need to upgrade your entertainment, from all the big brands.
And remember, you'll pay less every day at The Good Guys.
This pan will never peel off, never wear off, and never leach, because it has no toxins. It's the first non-stick with zero coating. And you need a pan that's non-stick and can handle high heat. This pan is perfect for that. The Always Pan Pro holds up better than anything I've ever used in my kitchen. It's 300% stronger than stainless steel. So you can scrape it, you can slam it, you can scrub it, and you can set it on fire, and it will still work just as good as the day you bought it. It's oven safe, metal utensil safe, and also dishwasher safe. This titanium pan will last you a lifetime. You won't need the lifetime warranty, but it's there for you for peace of mind. You will never look back to your old, outdated cookware ever again.
New York, the Independent Rent Guidelines Board just froze the rent. That means if you're one of the more than 2 million New Yorkers who lives in a rent-stabilized apartment, your rent's going to be frozen next year.
New York City apartments are going to start falling apart because landlords won't be able to afford maintenance if they can't raise rent. One of the reasons rent's out of control here is because Biden poured 3 million illegals into the city and Democrats didn't build any more apartments. Supply and demand. The Supreme Court just gave Trump full powers, though, to deport hundreds of thousands of Haitians and Syrians. But Mamdani says, over my dead body.
To have people who frankly taught the world about freedom have their own freedom be put in jeopardy by the actions of a Supreme Court and a federal administration, it is not only cruel, it's something that we will not ever accept.
So who put Mamdani and these commies in power? 40% of the city is foreign-born, 70% non-white. A majority of the city is on some sort of government welfare, but young college-educated white women are a big part of the base. They can't get jobs with their useless degrees, so they can't afford rent. And they're not getting married, so they're kind of stuck. And they're angry at America, at capitalism, and at their party. The Democratic Party kind of screwed them, pressured them to take out six-figure loans to get dumb degrees, raised the cost of living here with reckless spending and open borders, and then the media told them to act like men. Men don't like that. Take it from me. So they're single, alone, and they're definitely not voting Republican, so they're voting commie. They want to blow up the system.
I know people like, this is just New York. It's just this very blue state with all these, and you know who voted them? Like these white, liberal, purple-haired, educated brats. That's who voted, who want to, I guess, overthrow the government of the United States, whether peacefully or what, and install communism and socialism.
The purple hairs got indoctrinated in college, and they want to take down the man. They're unhappy, and they want to make sure everybody else is just as unhappy as they are. Gavin Newsom's watching this from out west, and he's thinking, if you can't beat him, join him.
It's time for a national billionaires tax and a new social contract. Think about this. Just 10% of people in this country own 2/3 of the wealth. A 30-year-old, for the first time in American history, is not doing better than his or her parents. That's a 5-alarm fire. It's time for an economic reset.
Watch.
Newsom wants to slap California billionaires with a 5% wealth tax. Number one, that's illegal. Can't tax wealth. Number two, you hear that sound? That's the sound of every billionaire leaving California. The donors are panicking because soon they'll be standing in front of a firing squad that they paid for. Donors are already broke after Kamala blew $2.5 billion. And now they're going to have to spend to fend off primary challenges by commies and spend to take back Congress and the White House from Republicans. They don't have that kind of money because communists and Democrats are threatening to seize their money. So where's Obama? Barry's going to have to referee this. He's kind of the leader of the party. Is he going to take a stand? Pelosi's retiring. Biden has cancer. Bubba's up with the Energizer Bunny in Chappaqua. After Trump won re-election, what do we hear? That the Democrats would have to define what they stand for. Not just being anti-Trump, but what does it mean to be a Democrat? Well, here's their opportunity. All it takes is some common sense.
I think I'd be the greatest communist in history. I'd give free rent. Ladies and gentlemen, from now on, you don't have to pay any rent. From now on, anybody wants a house, don't worry about it. Just pick the house you want. Everybody gets free food. Everything is free from this point forward. Everyone's going to vote for me. The problem is, after 2 or 3 years, the country is a disaster area. That first year, boy, you're the most popular. It's happening right now in New York and California. But you'll start living in squalor.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube.